The FICO Educational Challenge is focused on bringing diversity to AI and data science. In particular, how we develop models in a responsible AI framework. How do we get more voices and more representation involved in terms of how these models get built, particularly models that impact communities across the United States. So for FICO, we've always understood that representation and correct representation in models is critically important to the success of any model and the fairness of these models. As we looked at launching this program, what we understood was that we have to increase representation, in particularly some of the representation from the African American community. And so one of the intentions is to really help improve representation of African American Black data scientists within the industry. That was the original motivation, and it continues to be a motivation today to make sure that we have representation from all as we develop models that impact financial health. So we partnered with NC Central primarily because we wanted to make sure to continue the momentum we had from year two. We had phenomenal participation from the students, and we wanted to bring a brand new topic, one that's very relevant. And that relevant topic is around how to apply generative AI safely and responsibly through the use of small language models and focused language models. We want to see how each and every student approaches this problem differently, and we had such a phenomenal impact in the last year's program. We're excited to see what inventive ideas the students come up with this year for the challenge. As I look at the 8 HBCUs that we've worked with so far on the FICO Educational Challenge, one of the things that I see that's very valuable is the fact that they are looking to align sort of the experience across HBCUs. Whether or not one of those HBCUs have a data science program or they're in the midst of developing that program, each of those allows us to better understand how to enable and develop curriculum for data science. There's a sincere interest across HBCUs to have more of an AI and data science curriculum. And for FICO, it allows us a unique experience to understand the HBCUs much more deeply by working with individual students, understanding where they have strengths and where they need support, and thinking about that as we look on how we can empower all HBCUs to have more data science in their programs today. So as part of the Year 3 FICO Educational Analytic Challenge, the students are exposed to practical methods of developing large language models and applications of large language models. And so in doing so, the students are going to get exposure for how these models work. They're going to use models to produce synthetic data to simulate use cases. Essentially, consumers calling into banks and having questions about their accounts or needing assistance. Their job is to build a chatbot that can understand those conversations, classify them, so that the consumer that calls in gets the correct response from the bank. This is really going to be important for the students because what they're going to be exposed to is the fact that you don't need huge models to do this. You can use smaller, more focused, more responsible models. They'll also understand that they are in control of how that model behaves because they will be in control of the data on which they train that model. At the end, each team and each student will have hands-on experience with how these models get built, meaning that they will be able to look at other applications outside of this challenge problem as they look to their continuing education here at NC Central, but also, moreover, as they look to jobs outside of the university. So for FICO, we focus on teaching the concept of responsible AI. Responsible AI consists of 4 major pillars for us. The first pillar is robust AI, meaning models that are built appropriately on data that's known and with sanctioned and safe methods. The second part of this is around explainable AI. All AI, particularly that impacts human beings, needs to be explainable or interpretable. And so we talk about the fact that AI needs to be able to reveal how it makes its decisions. Third is ethical AI. You need to be able to build AI and have tests in place to make sure that it doesn't learn disparate impact or bias in data that's often hidden from humans that try to use this data. And so extensive testing of models and building of models which test for any kind of bias is another thing that the students will get exposed to and learn how to remediate. And the final piece of this is auditable AI, essentially a track record for FICO put on the blockchain, which demonstrates that all the steps necessary for meeting a responsible AI have been met, and with proof of work where that has been accomplished. With all those things done, the students will have an understanding of it's not good enough just to build an AI model. They have to go through the steps to make sure that it's a responsible one and that's ready to go out there in production and impact our citizens. A big part of this is that they are going to have professional development from FICO, both in terms of how they come up with their LinkedIn profiles, how they present themselves in their work to others as part of interviews, but also have a personal relationship with our lecturers, with our mentors.